Setlist. We got Setlist, episode number 8. And Hank does feel that strong enough, Lord. Do you believe in love after love? Yeah, I had to do that one. It's a nice little inside thing that we do for all of our guests. But yeah, welcome to Setlist episode number 8. I actually got the theme right this time. Last time I was stuck on it because it's associated with the rhyme. Andrew is on here, but Mr. Producer Man is here. Okay, sure. Good to see that you're in great humor on this Sunday. So this person that I'm introducing for the show is another Canadian. It is also a fellow Islander. But it is of the people that I've brought on for the show that are not from the community. This is a person that would fit in just perfectly, given their background and how we kind of met each other. So I'm going to delve into a little bit, I guess, about the PEI trivia scene. So there is there's like the big kind of the big one, or the one that I started going to in college. There's a bar here called Hunters. They had trivia on Thursdays, and it was like mostly entertainment trivia, really drawn towards the college crowd and the early 20s people. And then it was like last year, quite around that time. I had started going to this bar in town called Hop Yard, and they had started hosting trivia on Wednesdays, and it was run by this gentleman named Hank, and he curates some of the best questions and is just this overwhelmingly knowledge person. It's some of the best trivia in the city. So I figured I'd have him on. So with me today is Hank. How are you doing, sir?
Hello, I'm very well, and I'm my heart is warmed by that introduction, and the musical intro too was just there are not words for that. That felt wonderful to hear.
Yeah, I mean, if I never really need an excuse to play Cher, but I felt very inspired by it. But yeah, so before we get into it, I kind of want to pick your brain a little bit about trivia, just because of like how this community is kind of based, and it's really about movies and kind of the trivia of that, and
absolutely
that's how ultimately it kind of fell into it. So, how did you fall in love with trivia, and I guess, or how did you kind of get to where you are with us?
Well, I've always loved the kind of hidden source of my trivia knowledge is the Uncle John's bathroom readers. I'm not sure if you're familiar.
Yes.
But yeah, I was basically raised on those. We have, I think, maybe from the 5th edition to the 35th, whichever one came out this year, and I've read them all cover to cover. So then when I moved back to the island, I was born here, but I only moved back in 2020. It was just a good way to get to know people. My uncle went to the Churchill's trivia night, hosted by Sam, for a very long time. And I started going there. I started bringing my father along with me. We started meeting people through that. That was my first introduction to the Charlottetown social scene. And then Sam retired, I think, in like August of 2021, and he was looking for someone to replace him, and I figured I know a few facts and I could probably do a few weeks before they find somebody permanent. And now 62 weeks later, I'm still doing it there, and now 31 weeks later, I'm doing it at Churchill's, and now I'm also doing it at Harmony House in Hunter River every second week, which one's really fun. They've never done anything there before. So we started off with like 3 teams, maybe 8 heads, and it was tough. But now we're getting 20, 25, 30 people there some nights. So it's just been great to see. And Islanders are so keen. I love it. And even go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, yeah, Islanders are very keen, and in terms I think it's kind of hard here to do specifically like just movies, and like you can do music trivia, but it has to be pretty niche, I guess, for everybody to have a good time with this.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the trivia you do at Hop Yard, I think it's a bunch of thinkers, but it's like I think the problem with some trivia here is that it can be Googleable. The
Mhm.
stuff that you do isn't very Googleable. I guess it's not like that quick find.
That's good to know. I appreciate that because yeah, I basically the way you do it is you take a subject and it would be very easy to just ask a very simple question about it and then try and find that other route. I do a an on this day question every week, and in one of my teams at Churchill's they figured that out, and so they'll research what happened on this day, and I can always hear the question. I can hear them start to say, oh, here it comes, this is it. And then when I ask the question, it's something that they have no idea. They were not prepared. So you just got to deviate. You got to like you set them up and then you knock them down. But it's a niche market because I could ask like what was the name of the period in the 17th century England in which there was no monarchy, and some people would get interregnum. But then I could ask, what's the name of Taylor Swift's latest album? And it would be like that would be like a genuinely difficult question for a lot of my
Yeah,
teams.
I
So
think. Oh no, I was gonna say, or no, you finish what you're saying, and then
no, I was
I'll
just
add on.
saying, like it is the island is a bit of an enigma. Like
Yeah.
there are things that you wouldn't get away with in a big city.
I think my favorite style of question that you do is the categories one,
Oh,
because
yes.
you're playing so many head games with other teams. Like even I think what was the last one that we did? It was M Night Shyamalan movies, and
Yeah.
I remember being like, all right, like we can't pick Signs, we can't pick The Sixth Sense, and I was like, I'm gonna try. Because we were originally going to go to The Village, and I'm like, oh, let's try Old. It's like a recent movie that I don't think like a ton of people saw, or like it didn't stay in the mainframe. And then it was like, yeah, somebody else picked Old. It's like, fuck. It's like, how? Because you gotta ride that line of like obscure enough, but almost too mainstream that people would overthink it.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it is. Well, and then there's always that one really obvious answer that people could just lay on to, but it's like, oh my God, you can't pick Sixth Sense. And then sure enough, nobody picked Sixth Sense. I think this last week I asked there are 18 teams represented by the or 18 countries represented by the NHL, players from 18 different countries.
Okay.
Just name one of the 18 countries. If another team names the same one, neither team gets points. And I think we had like 8 or 9 USA. Like a lot of people lean on the USA. No Canada whatsoever. So yeah, you just have to, uh, you got to go with what you don't think anyone else is going to pick. But history has proven that people don't pick the obvious answer very often, which I love.
Yeah. All right. So we'll get into the meat and potatoes of the show. So for
Let's.
those of you who haven't heard the show before, how it works is I ask every guest the same 10 questions. So whenever you hear it the first time, you know exactly what you're getting into. So we'll get right into question number one. Hank, who is your favorite artist?
My favorite artist is Jim Croce. I had to shout out who I believe is one of the greatest and most underappreciated kind of singer songwriters in the last century.
Yeah. He's a really just well-regarded artist, especially like in this community. My co-host, Andrew, and then a buddy of ours, Cody, that we're doing another show with off of our stones where we're going through a collective top 500. We actually just talked about him recently with Bad Leroy Brown, and
Of course.
it's like just crazy at how much he was able to pump out and produce before the age of 30,
Yep.
and to have just these iconic hits with like Operator, Time in the Bottle, that again, Bad Leroy Brown. There's a debate right now of which is better, Bad Leroy Brown or You Don't Mess Around with Jim.
Oh,
Um,
the through line between those two songs being a little guy beating up a big guy just warms my heart with because that it's he is so on the nose with just like, all right, this is me. You don't mess around with Jim. It's Jim Croce, and it's all about these little guys showing up and kind of disturbing the peace of these big kind of loudmouth brutes. I love it. I think he's fantastic.
Yeah. So his first album came out in '66 with Facets, and upon initially looking at the album cover, you'll be a little shocked. It's the only time he doesn't have that signature mustache and kind of medium fro look. But this is pretty straightforward in terms of his albums. Opens with Steel Rail Blues. And then you have, I think, my favorite song on the album, and it's purely just because of how he enunciates the word. Charlie Green played that slide trombone, but how he pronounces it, it's always trombone. So I think I just have to call it a trombone from now on.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, trombone. No, he is. He has a few of those. I don't know if I'll be able to pull any kind of for this particular instance, but he's got a few words that he kind of has fun with that I always like to hear.
Yeah. And then 3 years later, we have Jim and Ingrid Croce, which he had done with his spouse. And then you have you don't have a ton of big hits on here. I think was there any singles on this one? I don't think there were. Age is the only one that's really kind of sparking the brain. But
yep.
What are your thoughts on the album?
I think it's great. It's pretty easy to enjoy a 5-album discography, and this is one that I don't go back to as often, but it's as good as anything else. It's all of his songs, all of his writing is just very real. Like he was just a normal guy. I can't get enough. I love it all.
Yeah, and then you move into like you mentioned earlier, You Don't Mess Around with Jim in 1972, which you could argue is almost as great as hits. You have the title track, Time in a Bottle, and then I think his best song would be Operator. Just in how it's done, how it's kind of arranged production wise. The guitar is very light and soft, and then just you get early on what the song is about. Like Operator, which helped me place this call. She's living in LA with my best old ex-friend Ray. I think that's just a really cool line of just being able to kind of describe the intricacies of that relationship. But yeah, what are your thoughts on this album?
This is my favorite album without a doubt. And I think Operator is a fantastic song. So I started listening to Jim Croce in 2018. I was living in Toronto in a terrible little apartment that I was paying way too much money for, but it was like a 10-minute walk to work, so I couldn't really say no. And I was just really feeling like a guy without a home, without a purpose. So for me, this album's got Box Number 10 and New York's Not My Home, which are both songs a bit like that really made me feel exactly like how I was feeling at the time, where I'd come from Charlottetown through Ottawa, and I was living in this big city, but I was just broke on my ass, and I was just working constantly, and I didn't have really a life of my own, and it felt like every time something would start going well, there would always be a catch. And yeah, Box Number 10, like it's fantastic. The imagery that he uses is beautiful. Like it's a short story as much as it is a song, as much as it is a short film. Like you can see it in your head. I love it. And then New York's Not My Home is pretty self-explanatory. Like, let me see. Let me pull up some lyrics for that one, because that one, New York's. Where does he come from? He's always from Southern Illinois, and you just get the sense that he's just way out of place. And yeah, as much as I tried to do the Toronto living for as long as I did, it didn't work. And his songs helped me get through that.
Nice. Would it be fair to say that I think the casual audience, and then I would say like kind of the generation like younger than us, would really kind of hear their first Jim Croce with like Days of Future Past and that iconic scene with Evan Peters and Quicksilver when he's kind of going around. You hear Time in a Bottle, which I have to admit, I thought, and this is more so the Canadian in me than anything, I thought for the longest time that Time in a Bottle was a Gordon Lightfoot song. And it kind of does, but yeah.
Yeah, it sounds just like him. Yeah, that was, I don't want to say that was my first experience with him. I think that has to go with I Got a Name from Django Unchained. Which,
okay. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's in the snowy training montage. And it's weird. It doesn't really fit. Like, it just starts. It's not like it's completely diegetic. It just comes out of nowhere. But it is this swelling, really kind of proud song about being who you are, even if who you are isn't all that much. And it comes at the time where Django starts to accept that he's got like a bigger part in this world than he had for his whole life. And that was my first exposure. But I agree. Like, I didn't know it was him. I didn't realize, because I knew Bad Leroy Brown. And I knew Don't Mess Around with Jim. But hearing I Got a Name, it felt like somebody completely different. I got Time in a Bottle as well. Like, Gordon Lightfoot I'd never put my finger on it before, but that's very accurate.
All right. Yeah. And then in 73, he had two albums. He had Life and Times, which is where Bad Leroy Brown came from. And then you have I Got a Name, which has the self-titled track. And then you have I'd say an overlooked Jim Croce song. I'll have to say I Love You in a Song.
Oh,
and just like how sweet it is. Yeah.
It is. He had that. He could make you see a person in your head with extreme like clarity, but then he could also put these like kind of wordless feelings into words. Like he just had such a big heart that he could make these kind of obscure ideas make sense. I love it.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, then he has Photographs and Memories in 74, which is more so like a greatest hits, but you kind of really have that with You Don't Mess Around with Jim. But we'll get right in. Or yeah, one last thing that I want to bring up before this. Craziest thing in this is that Jim Croce is somehow not a part of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and especially considering the class of people, that they're adding in now. It's just like, how is he not at least considered for it every year?
They have to loop back around to that era, where it's oh my god, I didn't know that. That's terrible. There should just be a wing of artists that died in plane crashes. You should just have just all of them. Just put them all in there, and you could fill a building. Like, era was absurd.
But you wouldn't be able to call it a wing. Wouldn't be called a wing of the Hall of Fame. It'd be like a sector, I guess, or
the sector. As I was saying it, wing sounded worse in my head. But yeah, oh no, I think that's travesty.
Yeah. All right. On to question number 2. This is more so to settle a debate between Andrew and I. What is your favorite song to dance to?
Favorite song to dance to? So I've got to say, and right now it's a big night. It's Oscar night. I will be keeping track and tuning in after we wrap up. But as long as I make it for the live performance of Natu Natu from the film RRR, I will be standing in my apartment dancing along with the cast and crew, because I adore that song right now. That is like the song currently. The kind of dance fight aspect of it. So if you haven't seen RRR, it is a 3+ hour Telugu film, which is a dialect in India, a region, about the power of friendship, using 2 real characters, but completely like in a mythological setting. It is about these 2 people who, despite their different kind of upbringings and different social statuses, become great friends, and through the use of absurd violence, they overthrow the British rule in a certain part of India. It's fantastic. But the most violent part of the film is this dance that is just kicking and arms and swinging, and I can't get enough of it. And it's during this kind of British ballroom scene where the two Indian characters don't fit in, so they introduce their own style of dance, and it is just incredible. It's something to see, and I cannot help but move along with it every time I hear it.
Yeah, this song is really fucking cool. I have yet to see RRR, but RRR actually kind of holds an interesting place in this community. So like among the channels and whatnot, there's kind of like 3 or 4 that kind of are like sister channels, or they
Sure.
work in harmony of each other. But like average views are probably like 300 to 400 views. But then there was this one video that channel had put out. It was like a round table where they were discussing movies, and RRR was one of them, and it was in the title. And because it was RRR, it jumped up to like 6,000-7,000 views, like over 24 hours. Just it's crazy how much people love that movie, and they just want to spread it. I believe this is the song to win Best Original Song for tonight.
It's a shoe.
Yeah, there's one from Top Gun Maverick, and I think there's one from Babylon.
There isn't any from Babylon.
Black Panther for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Babylon's got Score in the bag, because I listen to it at the gym. It's fantastic, moving your body to music. But I think the main competition would be Lift Me Up. I think it's Rihanna's song from Black Panther.
Right,
but
yes, yeah.
I don't know. You can't deny these two guys. Like, Najanatu is it has to win. I'll live and die by that.
Nice. All right, we'll move on to question number 3.
Sure.
Your favorite song on the current top 500. But you went above and beyond on this question. You not only gave a song, you gave something even better and more well-revered in this community. You gave a top 10 list.
Yes.
So starting from 10 to number 1, what are your favorite songs on the current top 500?
Top 500, the most recent. This was a challenge. I spent a good hour and a half on this question alone, and then I wrote out all the answers, and then for some reason Instagram deleted them before I'd actually sent them to you. So I had to find all the the song numbers again. But from 10, I'm going by Bam Bam by Sister Nancy. Should I just go through them and then we'll discuss?
Yeah, just go through them.
Bam Bam by Sister Nancy, that's number 454. Lovely Day by Bill Withers, that's 402. The Harder They Come by Jimmy Cliff, that's 361. Believe by Cher. It just makes me so happy that song is on that list. It's an important song. We'll get to it.
It is. It's absolutely an important song.
Son of a Preacher Man by Dusty Springfield at 168. Sissy Strut by The Meters at 158. I Say a Little Prayer by Aretha Franklin, that's number 117. In My Life by the Beatles, that's 98. Suspicious Minds by Elvis at number 7. And then God Only Knows by the Beach Boys at number 11.
Yeah, this is a pretty awesome curation of songs. I think my favorite of the bunch would be Sissy Strut. I think it's a jam. And I'm a sucker for instrumentals and whatnot. Yeah. Bam Bam is cool. I don't have that appreciation for like Sister Nancy and like a ton of reggae that I do or that I probably should have. The Harder They Come is great. We just talked about that one recently on Off the Stones, and I think that's just it's a really really sombering kind of message hidden within this upbeat song. Believe, obviously, which I played in the intro. Believe is actually like one of 2 songs. That's my first memory of ever hearing music. It was that and Ooh La La.
Nice.
Yeah. Son of a Preacher Man, I think is great, and it kind of it's objectively, I think the best version of a bunch of different songs, kind of in the same vein as like Me and Bobby McGee,
Mm,
This Joanna by Bob Dylan, where it's just like it's like kind of 60s with like a little bit of gospel, but they
yep.
kind of stay more so on the rock side of it. Um,
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
of the songs on this list, I can see you singing "I Say a Little Prayer." Just and especially like when you get to that chorus and just like I can
Oh,
just see kind of the glee in your face as you would do it. Um, in my life, that's a song that has grown on me in the last year or so. I used to think Rubber Soul was pretty okay, and I used to be like pretty bothered by the harpsichord solo and just how
sure.
yeah, but I think the harmony in it is great, and then just like the just how heavy John can be as a writer, considering how he's usually kind of the dreamy one of the two, and Paul's more kind of like it's not like logical, but he's more of like a kind of a straightforward storyteller.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, Suspicious Minds, I think is a great song that doesn't necessarily need Elvis Presley. The band work in it is great.
That's the main thing. Absolutely. Yeah. The backing band goes unbelievably hard in that song.
Yeah, and then yeah, God Only Knows is probably second in Beach Boys in terms of just how complex and experimental they're willing to go with their sound, especially when you get into that round part. And then Brian Wilson's delivery on the song, or is it Brian Wilson or Mike Love that's on
I
the
think
that sings
that's
this one?
got to be Brian Wilson. I
Yeah,
think yeah.
yeah, but yeah, you mentioned in your message that this is kind of the perfect album to get from these songs. Like why these 10 songs?
Well, I know we were talking about it with some of the earlier questions. The film influence in this album runs deep. There is like a lot of The Harder They Come is a movie itself. It was made for the soundtrack of the biggest hit Jamaica's ever produced. It's like the first, not blockbuster, but first mainstream film ever produced in Jamaica. And it stars Jimmy Cliff. It has an extended kind of cameo from Toots and the Maytals, which is amazing. They do a live version of Sweet and Dandy, which is my favorite of their songs too. And it is absolutely what you were saying about it is that like a dark kind of like very realistic look at what being in a very impoverished part of the world is like. And the film really dives into that. Like it's a gangster film as much as anything. I have to recommend that movie. But then you've got Son of a Preacher Man. Obviously, my parents showed me Pulp Fiction at a way too young of an age. But they said you're an only child. You've got to become cultured. So we're gonna get you in while we can. What else? Sissy Strut. Have you seen Another Round? Or I think it's called Druk in its original language. It's
I have
Mads
not.
Mikkelsen. Oh, it's fantastic. It's a film about a real life study that a group of teachers did in the Netherlands about if being a little drunk all day just makes you a better person. That it's like that the human brain has like an alcohol deficiency naturally. So if you're always going on like 2 beers, then you'll just be like a more productive human. And then of course that goes off the rails and they get hammered. And Sissy Strut is the music that plays during this like drunken montage. And it's just perfect. It reminded me how much I love
Man.
that song. Strong recommend for that movie. But as far as this being the perfect album, I think you've just got such a kind of history lesson in music now. I wish I had more contemporary stuff on there. I think the newest song is Believe. It's from 97, I think, 99.
Yeah.
Uh,
Believe is to the Googler is why are you?
Let me see.
98.
98. Okay, we'll split the difference. I think that's the most contemporary newest song that I have on there. I am not educated enough on the last 25 years of music. I'm definitely aware of what's going on. It's not all to my taste. I like a lot of bands that don't appear on the top 500, but I think that if you want to know what music is from 1950 to 2000, that is a perfect encapsulation of not just American music, but music from all over the Western Hemisphere, all over parts of North America. You've got like Deep South gospel, but then you also take a trip over to the UK and you see what like some of the what was going on in New York at the time. And I adore this. I've been playing this top 10 at work all the time because it's just a kind of a time travel milk run of the first 50 years of popular music.
Some would argue that it is the best years of the music.
Some could definitely make that argument. Yeah.
Yeah. Like this list in particular, and like whenever Andrew and I went through it, the biggest question that I had of it was, what are the consistent themes, I guess, and as to why they were adding songs. Like
Sure.
there's a couple, like the ones that I really didn't agree with were like a Millie by Lil Wayne.
Sure.
And there was like the Byrds cover of Mr. Tambourine Man, which which I get, like it inspired so much, but like going back to it, it's just a slowed down version of the song. Yeah. And it's like, why are we celebrating a 12-string guitar and like harmonies?
Sure. Yeah, you speak the truth.
All right, we'll go on to question number 4. What was your favorite concert?
Oh, my favorite concert has got to be, and there are a lot of honorable mentions. We don't need to get to all of them, but Paul McCartney, 2013 in Ottawa, was just a profound experience. 2013, I was 15, 16 at the time, and I was a huge Beatles fan. I still am. I know their whole discography cover to cover, but being able to see him live was just, and he played for 3 straight hours, and I think he was 68 at the time. It was just incredible. It was like watching it was a religious experience. I don't know. I think that was something that I will never forget.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. 3 hours with, I imagine, like no breaks,
no intermission, no.
Yeah, and obviously this is later in his career, so you kind of have everything culminated together, whether it was the Beatles, or the Wings and whatnot. Was there the question I like to ask with this question? Was there anybody that opened for him?
No opener, no. I think those
just straight hit.
Just awesome. Walk right out, and he did 2 encores. The only other band that played was for Mull of Kintyre, which was the last song of the evening, which is a fantastic song. He brought out the Ottawa Pipe and Drum Band to play along with him.
Pretty fucking cool, yeah.
Oh, it was insane. I get chills still thinking about it, but needless to say, there were tears that night. Oh, I was just in heaven. Like it was fantastic.
Was that at now I might get my hockey arenas wrong. Oh. Was this at the Canadian Tire Center?
Yeah. Look, it's changed its name so many times. I don't even know if it is that anymore. Canadian Tire Center. It is. Okay, yeah. We're still at Canadian Tire Center because it was like the Scotiabank place for a little while. It was something before that. Yes, that was at the Canadian Tire Center, which is, as far as stadiums go, very good in that there's no bad seats. You can see everything from everywhere. It's not a huge arena, but it is very bad in location in that it is not like technically in Ottawa. It is about a half-hour drive outside of downtown. You're basically in a cornfield. It's in this neighborhood of Ottawa that was supposed to be a lot more than it is. So it's just this kind of fishbowl out in a cornfield. But as far as once you're inside, I think it's a great stadium.
Yeah, nice. All right, move on to question number 5. What is your favorite music video? Now you gave a rather
Yeah, I know.
interesting answer.
I know.
Let's hear it.
So my answer, because I genuinely I don't watch a lot of music videos. My answer is the Central Park performance of "Bridge Over Troubled Waters" by Simon and Garfunkel. Is just, I mean, okay, so it's not a music video. It is a video of music, but it is, I think, just one unbroken shot that you can only see Art Garfunkel in, and he's just singing, and it is like immediate emotions. Like, I love the song. I think it's one of the few songs that I've listened to a lot of covers of, and you just can't, like, there's no one beats the original. But the live version just sends chills down my spine. You can see, like, right into his mouth, and you can just feel everything he's saying. So yes, not a music video at all. If I can give some, like, I love okay, I love the half-hour version of "Make Some Noise," which is a Beastie Boys music video. The one with, it's like Seth Rogen, Danny McBride, who else?
Because that was like, was that 29 or 2009, 2010?
Yeah,
like, it was
something
one of their
like that.
later albums.
It was their last album. Like, it was their last single, I think. And it just has everyone in it. The three of them show up at the very end, but it's Will Ferrell, Jack Black, John C. Reilly, Susan Sarandon. The list goes on. It's a fantastic music video. So there we go. Okay, I'll say that's my, like, if we want to talk actual music videos, that's the one. And then, of course, I still picked a 30-minute long music video. So I guess I'm just trouble.
No, that's good. Or as of recording this, we did a draft recently of music videos, and just the thing that we all kind of came to the conclusion of is that music videos are this great kind of happy medium of, like, you have a song, but you also kind of want to tell a story, like, within the song, kind of parallel to it, and like it's this great visual representation of it, and it can be done in so many fucking different ways.
Absolutely.
You are right in that it's just a performance of or just a look in of Art Garfunkel playing the song. I love Simon and Garfunkel. I think Paul Simon is one of the greatest like songwriters ever. Unfortunately, Bridge Over Troubled Water, I haven't been able to connect to it,
sure,
or just get that kind of appeal. I think in that, like, in that tiny spectrum of music, I would say Billy Joel kind of took my heart with that.
Okay,
with
yeah,
like,
okay.
or like She's Always a Woman to Me.
Sure.
So I think this one will come along over time, but with this performance in particular, the things that I wanted to kind of point out is that when you watch Art sing it, and you look at him watching the crowd, and you see his eyes just kind of like shifting back and forth, and he's just trying to grab so many people's attention, and, like, especially, like, as a performer, you strive almost for that emotional connection, and you, like, it would just be interesting to kind of be in that moment of seeing, like, all right, well, like, who can I draw into now with this? The only other thing that I wanted to bring up, and it's kind of silly, man, Art Garfunkel's got some crooked ass teeth.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah, they're bad.
Like, yeah,
they're really bad.
I mentioned that you can look right into his mouth, and that's because I often do, because it is just a puzzle. It is like there is something going on in there that I can't quite put my finger on, but it's a part of the experience. You've just got to look at this crooked maze of teeth the whole time, and I think that's a very bold choice by the director, and I appreciate it.
All right, move on to question number 6. Your favorite musical?
Yeah, so I took this in two different directions. I was a big theater kid growing up, and in that I did a lot of theater, but I did plays. I can't sing at all, and I've tried. and I just can't do it. I love to sing, but I can't sing. So I didn't I didn't star in a lot of musicals. But the one that I did do that I still love to this day was Bye Bye Birdie, which is just an absolute cheese mess. But I also love Come From Away. How can you not? And then what happened there?
So gifs and memes are pretty are a nice little part of the show. So
I love it.
you usually get a couple of reactions in it.
Good. Okay. Good. And then and then for film, because that's where I am a huge musical movie guy. I love my jukebox musicals. I gotta give a shout out to Rocky Horror Picture Show, but it is
nice.
new film of all time is Moulin Rouge, so I have to give them that one. Yeah.
Yeah, so Come From Away, obviously, if you've never heard of the story before, it's basically about this town in Newfoundland, Gander. They have this sudden influx of 7,000 people, and then you learn in the opening song that it's these people are kind of derailed because of the events of 9/11, and basically about how this town kind of goes on hold for 5 days to help and accommodate and really give that Canadian sense of hospitality.
Absolutely.
The songs in this are really cool. Like songs in this are really cool. The first one, I think it's from the Rock, or like
Welcome to the Rock.
Welcome to the Rock. Yeah, and it's a great little intro to kind of catch you up with everything that's going on. As somebody from PEI, it is tough to hear them say like I am an Islander, because
I know,
because you never, like, outside of that musical, you never hear people call Newfoundlanders like Islanders. It's usually a more derogatory term, or it's like the people of Newfoundland.
Yeah, exactly. So no, Islanders is definitely has always been a PE Islander for me. But and it's funny you should mention the kind of home connection, how it's there is kind of a sea between us and Newfoundland, but and then again, all nostalgic. I saw this musical live in Toronto. It was after a shift. So I work in the kitchen. I've worked in kitchens for 7 years now, and so I stunk like onions and cooked meat. And then I found out that there were standing room tickets for like one of the last performances of Come From Away at the one of the bigger theaters in Toronto. I forget which one it was. And so I said, oh, why not? I'll head down there. And it'd been a few years since I'd been back to PEI. And as soon as like a fiddle starts in like the first 2 minutes of the musical, I just break down into tears. And the tears did not stop until probably well after the final bow. I was just like in love. And I had to go back and see it again, because I didn't really take it all in the first time, because I was just overwhelmed with emotions. I think that's why it'll always take a spot in my favorites list.
Yeah. You were mentioning the fiddle, and I think one of my favorite aspects of just the musical production itself is that it stayed very true to kind of that East Coast folk sense, and like the fiddle, he'd see like the bodhrán and like the accordion and the tin whistle. And it's like, if you really enjoyed like that style of music, like go check out like Great Big Sea and just everything that was kind of coming out in that same time. You had mentioned for movies, you had mentioned two. Moulin Rouge, I saw when I was about 7 or 8 years old. It's like one of my dad's favorite movies.
Oh, sure.
It's obviously like you have the like Lady Marmalade, which has fucking Christina Aguilera, Maya, Little Kim, Missy Elliott, and then you have Mr. Cellophane, I think, is one of the greatest performances like in the movie. That's
Chicago. Cellophane is Chicago. Oh,
that's Chicago.
I was gonna let you finish your thought. I'm sorry, but yes.
No. As I was saying, I'm like, no, that's Chicago. Jesus, what other songs are in Moulin Rouge?
Moulin Rouge, you got "Come What May" is the big song that was essentially written for the movie, but it's originally it's the only original song, but it originally features in I think Shakespeare in Love, or no, yeah, something. It's in some terrible movie, and then pops up again, and Moulin Rouge kind of made it famous. But the big songs from that one are like Elephant Love Medley, which is the kind of profession of love from Christian to Satine. My favorite song is the El Tango to Roxanne, which is this brutal, big kind of not brutal. I always said brutal. Like it's a violent version of Roxanne, kind of paired with an original song. I think that there's some great music on there. It is you can appreciate the movie on a whole, but not everyone's a Baz Luhrmann guy. His editing
Yeah,
is pretty crazy.
that's fair to say. Yeah.
There are just frantic editing choices that I love, but it is not for everyone. But I think you'd be doing yourself a disservice to not check out the album at least once. There's some really well done tracks on there.
Yeah. And then, yeah, of the two movies that you had mentioned, the one I really want to talk about was Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Of course.
This is, I mean, it's a fucking bop.
Goes without saying, yeah.
Like the time warp I had heard for the first time, I think in grade 9 at a dance. And I was like, man, this is so fucking cool.
Cool.
And I was like, oh, it's part of, it's like, check out the rest of this movie. And then, and this is really going to show my age, but Glee did a Rocky Horror Picture Show episode, and they did a couple of songs. They don't do like a great version of the Time Warp, but they do like okay versions of Damn It Janet. But then actually Halloween last year was the first time that I watched this movie from start to finish, and man, what a great fucking movie!
Oh my god!
Like, yeah, Tim Curry carries every second of it that he's in, and then just like. You have, like Damn It Janet. What's Touch It, Touch It, Touch Me is so much more vulgar than I remember, especially like when you break down the lyrics. But yeah, it's just this very welcoming and embracing movie for just kind of everything that isn't the norm, I guess.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And So I watched this movie when I want to say like 13 for the first time. And then I had some very formative years after that where I watched this movie again and again. I think I watched it every night for a month because I was trying to memorize it. And I did. So at one point I could just read the whole film. But I have to shout out my favorite song in the whole movie it's one that I don't hear very often, but I love Rose Tint My World. I think it's fantastic.
Yes.
The whole floor show at the end is great. And I think the reason I love it so much is because it allows Barry Boswick and Susan Sarandon to really let their hair down. Because even Touch It, Touch Me is like she's dealing with these feelings, and it's kind of like, well, should I? What's the deal? Why am I feeling these things? But by Rose Tint My World, everyone has just gone headfirst into the hedonism and the sexuality of Transylvania. And I love that, like, extended. It's like 8 minutes of 3 different songs, but that the floor show is tremendous.
Yeah. The last one that I want to mention from Rocky Horror Picture Show, only because it's Meatloaf, Hopatootie. It's if there was ever a time to just kind of like throw in an artist and be like, hey, do what you would normally do without this movie, and just enhance it.
Yes.
And it's a great fucking time, and such a young Meatloaf at the time too.
Well, and a very young Meatloaf. The Bat Out of Hell had not been released yet. This is like pre Bat Out of Hell. He was in the original London production of Rocky Horror Pictures of the Rocky Horror Show, not even picture. He played both Eddie and Dr. Scott. And they were supposed to do that in the movie, but then they all decided that would be too confusing if he showed up again. But yeah, this is Meatloaf pre Jim Steineman, which I think is like, a crazy thing to witness because those two are so intertwined with each other that having this like very young Meatloaf, I thought it was a delightful thing to see.
A quick little question off of that. Your favorite Meatloaf song with Jim Steinman?
It is absolutely, without a doubt. Oh God, what's it called? For Crying Out Loud. For Crying Out Loud is, and it's nobody ever talks about this song either. That is a love song to each other. That has never once in my head listening to that song, and I've listened to that song many times. That has never once sounded like a song from a man to a woman. That has always been Jim Steinman writing to Meatloaf and then Meatloaf singing to Jim. I think that those two were just like meant for each other. And they even broke up for a little while and then got back together and then made great music again. They are like, even if it's just in an artistic capacity, one of the best musical couples in history.
Yeah. I think my favorite of theirs would be 2 out of 3 Ain't Bad, but I think one that just doesn't get talked about enough would be It Just Won't Quit from Bad Out of Hell 2.
Yeah,
that's fucking. I haven't yet, but I'm waiting for the moment to happen, and then this song comes on, and I'm just like bawling my eyes out with a lighter. Is this a blessing or is this a curse?
Yes, that is a great tune. There are so many underappreciated Meatloaf songs. I love that this isn't even a part of the question anymore, but I need to talk about Meatloaf. Peel Out is just an album that doesn't get enough love either. People go, oh, it was Bad Out of Hell, and then it was a bunch of crap, and then it was Bad Out of Hell 2 when Jim Steinman came back. No, they put out. No, you gotta listen to Dead. Oh, sorry, not Peel Out. Peel Out's the lead song in Dead Ringer. Dead Ringer's a great album. Give it a listen.
Huh. All right, on to question number 7. The hottest question of the show usually. Hank, what is your most overrated act?
I am ready to take some serious heat for this because I've got a double header that can make two very different groups of people upset with me. I have never truly, and there are songs that I appreciate from both of these artists, I have never truly been able to grasp David Bowie or Led Zeppelin.
You did not have to do that. You knew you did not have to do that. How could you have done that? Can you live with yourself?
I knew. And as I wrote it, I said, this is not gonna. I should be ashamed, but it is just the reality of the situation.
David Bowie, I can understand just given like how many different kind of personas he has and how inconsistent I guess he was with the sound. Like he wouldn't really kind of stick with anything and always try something different, and like that's good in a sense.
Absolutely.
But yeah, and then Led Zeppelin. This breaks my heart. I adore Led Zeppelin. I believe my favorite song of theirs is "Ramble On." But you had mentioned there was 2 you mentioned in our little chat that were quite good in Life on Mars, which I think is a great of that one like Space Oddity and what's the other space
Kashmir.
song? Oh, yeah, Kashmir, yeah.
And this is what I wanted to add is that these two are absolutely both net positives for music. Like, I am very glad that they exist. It is just not, I don't know. And you mentioned, our producer friend mentioned the Red Shoes. Okay. Let's Dance or Just Dance? Let's Dance?
Let's Dance, yeah.
Let's Dance. I do not understand that song at all. I don't know. Maybe it was a time and a place. Maybe if I was there when it was released, I could see myself getting down to what is essentially David Bowie just talking about dancing. He doesn't sound like he wants to dance. I don't buy it. I don't want to dance either. And then Led Zeppelin, I totally understand where my not distaste, but my kind of representation of Led Zeppelin comes from. I started listening to Black Sabbath at a very young age, and I love the heavy, bluesy, like dark and like that side of metal. I think that heavy metal is broken up into two words, heavy and metal. I think you have the two godfathers of metal in Led Zeppelin and Black Sabbath. And I think Black Sabbath took heavy and has spawned everything heavy from there. And I think Led Zeppelin spawned the metal, and all metal comes from them. And I just think having those two kind of figureheads of the genre, that I just don't think they can live in the same room. And I have dedicated such a huge amount of space to Black Sabbath that Led Zeppelin, it just doesn't fit in the plan for me.
Okay. A quick little side tangent before I get into a little activity that I want to do with you.
Please.
As big of a Beatles head that you are, I hear a lot in the conversation that Helter Skelter was supposed to be like this big influential song that kind of inspired metal. I'm curious as to what your thoughts are on that take.
I don't think it is 100% inaccurate. I don't think it's accurate, but I don't think it's a lie. I think The Who had a huge amount of influence on metal. I think they're the loudest band to ever play live. Like, I think that's like just a fact about them. Like, no one played louder than them, at least in the last.
You're damn right it is.
There you go. It is. The Who is a huge influence. I think Helter Skelter was a big influence. But if you look at the timeline, like, it always stuns me that Black Sabbath's first album, Black Sabbath, with its lead song, Black Sabbath, came out in 1970. Like, the fact that you could go out and pick up two fresh vinyls, Let It Be and Black Sabbath, go home, listen to Let It Be. Oh, it's the Beatles. You love the Beatles. They're about to break up. What a shame. It's very sad. And then let's see what this new album is. And then I think it would just suck the brain right out of your head. Like, it is just such a, I don't know. I think that there's more influence in blues than there is just from Helter Skelter, like in the foundation of metal. Helter Skelter was a rock song turned up to 11. I think it's great, but I think it is still a rock song for the most part. But once you add that blues in there, once you add those like fundamentals on the instruments that like Tony Iommi had, with 3 fingers on one hand for the record, Geezer Butler, Bill Ward, and then Ozzy's, like they just had it completely figured out. There wasn't even a prototype. Like, those guys just busted out some game-changing music out of nowhere. And I think that you've got to credit kind of the blues influence just as much as you do the Beatles and the Who and kind of British kind of hard rock at the time.
Andrew is not here right now, but somewhere he is weeping a single tear of joy. The Who is one of his favorite bands ever.
There you go.
Yeah, and I'm harder on them than I probably should. But yeah, I wanted to. So the last little activity was I wanted to give 2 David Bowie songs and 2 Led Zeppelin songs, and just with 3 words, give me your overall thoughts on each one. So with David Bowie, I'll give you the first one. I'll give you is Changes.
Oh man. Avril Lavigne feature from what is it, Shrek 2? That song, I love that version of that song, which is absolute blasphemy. But I think I think it's Avril Lavigne. I need to check now. I think that's a great version of that song. Shrek 2 soundtrack, which is the Shrek 2 soundtrack. If you haven't listened to it, it's fantastic.
Shrek in general is
has
fucking
some
unreal.
Great music.
Yeah.
Sorry.
The other David Bowie song I wanted to give you was Young Americans.
I actually don't know that song.
That is, it's like, all right, he was a young American. You might have heard of them on the radio.
Sure, I think that rings a bell. But maybe, you know what, this may kind of bust my theory wide open. Maybe I'm just uneducated on the Bowie system. I know the big songs, and I've kind of made a quick judgment. But I will have to listen to that song after we wrap up.
And then the last or the only Led Zeppelin song that I'll give you is "Whole Lot of Love."
I dig that. There's my 3. I dig that song. It's not. I'm not gonna put it on, and I'm not gonna put it on instead of NIB. But I think that's a great song. There is I want to shout out. I think it's called. Okay. There's a mix of that song and War Pigs that is fantastic. It's just on YouTube.
My
Whole lot
favorite
of
Black Sabbath song.
Yeah, Wax Audio, which does great mashups, by the way, does a fantastic version of a Whole Lot of Sabbath. I strongly recommend that. Give that a listen.
Yeah, that like just kind of listening to the 2 songs individually and then hearing how they've come together would make a lot of sense. But yeah, we'll move on to question number 8.
And I do just want to correct myself. It was not Avril Lavigne. It was Butterfly Boucher that did a feature with David Bowie for Shrek 2. Sorry, continue.
That's right. So yeah, question number 8. Because we are in a movie community, I figured it kind of makes sense to ask. What's your favorite score?
I'm such a sucker. My favorite score is also the soundtrack to my favorite movie, which is The Fifth Element. Recently, Babylon's up there. I love Babylon's score, and I think that they should rightfully win that Oscar tonight. But Fifth Element, slamming the button down on that one.
Yeah. So this one's cool. I had just watched the movie for the first time this week. I like how it doesn't really fit into one genre.
No.
It's sci-fi and fantasy that has like these kind of like tough notes, but then like with help of the score, it has these times of just kind of like innocence and where they're just really kind of having fun with this. There's some really cool like funk beats in it. I think the hardest hitting point, spoilers of the movie if you've not watched it, but when Mila Jovovich is when she's looking at the screen and she's seeing all the history and kind of how humanity has really kind of tore down itself. I think that's a really good scene with the score. But yeah, what is it that makes you go back to it?
I just love it reminds me of my favorite movie of all time. Like I can see the scenes playing out in my head, but it's a broad, it doesn't follow one kind of motif the whole time. You've got I can let's see, I can pull up the score if I can find like the song titles, but when they go down into the mist in New York during that car chase in the first half, and it's just this like thumping trash beat, like it's like something out of Stomp. I love that. And then it'll fly into these like spacey kind of orchestral bits. The diva dance is fantastic. Like that song gives me chills. And the fact that it was computer generated essentially for the movie, but that there are people out there that can sing the Diva Pavlaguna's song is just incredible.
Is that the scene where
the blue alien?
Yeah, they're doing the opera, and then Bruce Willis comes out like he's almost in Die Hard. But then there's like a dance kind of techno element to it.
Yeah, and then of course it's got an action scene with Mia Jovovich with Lilu that's kind of set to it with like weird. It's such a weird movie, but I love it. It's got these like Three Stooges kind of physical comedy bits playing along with just one of the most impressive vocal performances you've ever heard. I love that whole scene, and the whole score is fantastic. And the end credits music by Eric Serra is really something special too.
Yeah. All right, on to question number 9. Your favorite soundtrack. Now, I gotta add that this is probably of the times that I've been doing the show or show similars. I think this is the most popular answer, and I think for a very good reason.
Yeah, I like. There was no debate. There are great movie soundtracks out there. I mean, like, if you're counting movie musicals, we named two: Rocky Horror, Moulin Rouge. I love them both, but like, you just can't touch "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou," can you? Like, that is the answer. That might be the answer. It is just every song fits so perfectly. I'm a huge, huge Coen Brothers fan. Big surprise. But I love every song on that soundtrack. I've been listening to it since I was a kid. That movie came out in 2001, and my parents bought that album, played it in the house all the time. So just this dusty, kind of whimsical, it's a fairy tale. I mean, it's the Odyssey. Like, it's an actual fairy tale. And I the songs carry that movie from scene to scene. There's the one musician that does a lot of the music, who makes a very brief appearance too, buying the Soggy Bottom Boys album at the Woolsworth, but it's sold
Would
out.
that be? Is it Ralph Stanley?
No, it's a lady.
Alison Gross.
Yes, yeah. Or hold on, let me see. She does. No. I don't know. Maybe I'll lose. I won't be able to find it. But just that soundtrack. I don't know what. I'm sure you've heard that answer before, but I'm not sure what more could be said. Like, it is just, yeah, Alison Krauss. It is just it's a fantastic soundtrack to a nearly perfect movie.
This soundtrack is kind of the pinnacle for bluegrass, I guess, and just how precious it can be, and especially in terms of the storytelling amongst what can be perceived as like an overly simplistic beast. When there's a ton of musicianship in bluegrass. I think my favorite song on the track is "Oh Death." I believe, the acapella version. It's just it grabs you so quick, and just does
it's terrifying. Yeah.
And then obviously, like, "I Am a Man of Constant Sorrow" is one that will be not time stamped, but it's one that people will go back to. Like, it will probably be played at the Oscars in some form, like even just in a clip, or it's been played. It'll be continued to be played in Oscars future, just because of the opening line, and just kind of how it grabs you right away. But yeah, excellent choice. I haven't watched a ton of Coen Brothers. I've watched True Grit and No Country for Old Men.
You're off to a good start.
Yeah.
And then the one thing I want to say about I'm a Man of Constant Sorrow, watching, like, the first time they sing it in the radio station, I have never been more sure that an actor can't sing than George Clooney pretending to sing that song. Like, I love the movie, and I love his performance during that scene too. But George Clooney is the most not singing that song anyone has ever not sung a song. I don't know how I can explain it better than that. But I'm the trivia guy. Another fun fact: that song is a 4-piece harmony, and they don't change it. You can hear that there are 4 people singing, but in the radio version, there's only 3 of them. That's a fun thing that you can look out for next time you watch that movie.
Weird that they would take that extra harmony out.
Yeah.
But yeah, the last question of the show, your favorite song to perform or sing. Now, I before we had even talked about doing the show, one of the other places that we would convene quite often was at a bar here called Baba's. They have open mic here, and Hank does some pretty killer poetry. But what are the answers that you picked for this question?
So I went with these. I think I said earlier, not a huge singer. I love to sing. I don't sing well. So when I go up there, I like to do songs that are just fun. And even if you don't like the songs, and if you don't like me singing them, they're fun. So I went with Devil Went Down to Georgia, Charlie Daniels Band, fantastic. Old Black Rum by Great Big Sea is a good, just hollering song. And a very controversial pick, Rockstar by Nickelback. Come on. everyone knows the words. You might hate it, but you know the words, and I love that tune.
So yeah, I guess I'll get these other two out of the way. The Devil Went Down to Georgia is an incredible incredible use of fiddle work and whatnot. Obviously, I think it got the big grab from Guitar Hero 3 and just how daunting that was to be kind of like this,
I'm not even aware
final
of that.
boss. Yeah, no, it's like you battle the devil in a guitar battle with this song.
Okay.
And it's just, yeah, it's really cool. Old Black Rum by Great Big Sea. Great Big Sea doesn't get talked about enough, but even this song, it just has so much energy. And then, especially like when you're playing this in the ideal setting of a bar and just hearing everybody belt out because the old Black Rum's got a hold on me like a dog wrapped around my neck. And it's just, it's a great song that you can just kind of turn your head off or turn your brain off and just belt it out. But the big one, Rockstar by Nickelback. So if I remember correctly, and I think it was just because around the time everybody, because what album did this come off of?
Is it Silver Side Up?
Silver Side Up.
It is off All the Right Reasons.
Just trying to remember when that came out. Because I believe
late 2005. What a good time to be alive, huh?
So this would have been like grade 5, grade 6 for me.
Yep.
And I think everybody and their mothers in this community and like in our local community had gotten this album, and there had already been a bunch of singles from it. Like you have Photograph and Animals, and then I remember kids singing Rockstar in school, and it had not been a single yet, but it was like I felt like we had all been kind of singing it already just because of everybody listening to the album. And then when it finally came out as a single, and especially like the music video with fucking what's his name from ZZ Top. It was the first instance that I had of like, hey, you need to check out the album before like all the singles come out, because then you can get ahead of the game on songs like this.
Yeah. Well, absolutely. It's very funny that you mentioned everyone and their mothers, because this is me and my mom's favorite song to sing together. Whenever we go on road trips, we always belt out tunes. Neither of us can sing, but we always have fun. But that's the song. And it's a great schoolyard song because they say asshole in it. And it's, oh my God, I can't believe there's cussing in music.
Man, to sing about the Mile High Club and not know what the Mile High Club was at the time.
Pop my pills from a Pez dispenser. I'm like 7 years old. What am I talking about? But I love it, and I'm glad you have an appreciation for it too.
Yeah, but yeah, that is gonna end the show for today. I do have two like secondary kind of extra questions also.
Sure.
As I'm contractually obligated, because we are on the video store. It is by law that where we are right here, that you have to buy our shit, tpublic.com/the video store. You can get shirts like this and then all the other shows that are on the video store. But my two kind of side questions for you, Hank, are one, what music are you currently listening to at the moment that you think people should check out? And secondly, who are some people that you think would be a perfect fit for the show?
Oh, geez. Wow. So what am I listening to right now? I'm a little all over the place. I've been starting to listen to, where's he from? There's a rapper, a contemporary rapper that I'm enjoying quite a bit, from Minneapolis, Minnesota. His name is Prof. He's got some hits like Andre the Giant. I mean, I love the name of the song, obviously. Andre the Giant and Pack a Lunch are two like really fun tunes to listen to. So I'm enjoying getting into him. But other than that, right now, I don't know. Do I have any like I haven't done like a big deep dive in a while. Every once in a while, I'll just completely go down the rabbit hole of a new artist. But I've been working a lot lately, and when I work, I listen to funk. So Sharon Jones and the Dap Kings are awesome. I'll say them. I've been listening to a lot of Sharon Jones lately. I'll give a nod to her. And then people that want to play that would be perfect for this. Oh man, I've got. I work with one of the managers that I work with is another big music guy. We talk music all the time. Do we name names on this show? What's the deal?
We can name names. Yeah.
We can name names. Tommy Shaw would be fantastic for this
Okay.
show. Who else?
Somebody in our realm that we both know that I think would be a perfect fit for this. Beatty.
Oh, Beatty. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, anyone
Beatty would be. Yeah, or anybody. What's the band's name? That's Beatty, Chris, and
they're the Devil's like Toothbrush. No,
the Devil's Punch Bowl.
Punch Bowl. Yeah, there it is. Devil's Toothbrush. That's my
a brief description of Beatty. Beatty is this person that plays harp usually, but will often mix Irish and punk music. They do an incredible cover of oh my god, the Blink-182 song. This is Growing Up.
I can't help you. I don't know. I don't know anything Blink-182. I thought that was a Beatty original.
No, that is a cover, and it's awesome because it gets the whole crowd singing. But Hank, thank you very much for coming on. It was great picking your brain in the music and movie realm.
You're so welcome. Thank you for having me. It has been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, and please check out anything else that's like on the video store or Multiplex Entertainment. There's some really good discussions right now, just kind of about movies. Like right now, our friend Boatman and Coho are doing this series called Filmography, and right now they're going through the series. They're going through like Aaron Sorkin movies. Bowman also does this show called Movies Are My Life, where they go over like 3 movies that had this kind of big impact. There's Why We Love Horror. Melissa and John Marr, they're breaking down various horror movies, and then there is like late night at the video store. That's Kelly and Mike, 2 of the kind of the big runners of the show. Are big runners of the channel, rather. They have this kind of this call-in series. They have a question, and you can kind of answer, and there's all these different conversations to be had. And then whenever M Rank comes on, they do some like really cool, fun kind of like meta stuff if you've been in the community for a while. But yeah, Hank, thank you again for coming on. Do the usual YouTube stuff, like, comment, subscribe. Cheers, guys, and as always, drive safely.